Hold up, wait. Y'all actually thought that I was gonna stop making episodes and like quit completely and shit? Did you really think I was going to stop though? Okay, actually, I kind of was. I actually kind of was. Like, I really, really did think about it, and I will talk about that in a little bit. But at least, let me just say, for this episode, considering that I am back, it's going to involve me handling a 50-50 deal. The worst one I've probably ever seen. And it's so bad that I'll sound like I'm defending women the entire time, even though I'm actually pro guys for this entire thing, including even the bit before the main topic. But anyways, before I can get into all of that, let me start things off from a bit of a quirky, if not funny, side of things. And for that, I'm gonna go to the UK because apparently the presenter known as Jeremy Clarkson has been crowned the sexiest man in the UK for the second year in a row, beating men such as Idris Elba and Tom Holland. And honestly, I know there's so much that can be said about this, but frankly, I think this is probably the most British thing ever because just like their food, they seem to lack flavor in all of the important things.
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Okay, before any of you come at me with your pitchforks saying, how dare you speak ill of the name of Jeremy Clarkson, just know I'm actually a fan. I am a fan of Jeremy Clarkson and I am actually in agreement with him being crowned the sexiest man in the UK. Not that I find him to be, like that attractive or anything. It's just, dude actually seems like a pretty good dude as far as him being a presenter goes. Like that one I am totally in favor of. The reason why I'm saying that the UK people, at least in terms of choosing the sexiest man, lack flavor is because they had an opportunity to have some more spicy, more flavorful choices in men, but they decided to go for the most bland option. Because you think about it, if Idris Elba is crowned the sexiest man in the UK, a couple of black people are gonna be feeling good. They'll be like, you know what, black people, we up. In the UK, people are blatantly racist, but you know what, we can be sexy as well. And they'd be happy about that. Or if they chose Tom Holland. Tom Holland would be such a big push for people, especially short guys, because a lot of these short kings feel like, they're not that good looking. And yet there's Tom Holland who's managed to bag Zendaya, who's supposedly taller than him. And he is the proof to all of the short kings out there that they have a chance, that, their shortcomings are not a problem for every single woman out there. And, they can also be regarded as sexy regardless of height. But guess what? They decided to go for a 6'4", 6'5", 50 something, if not 60 something year old man who just so happens to have been a part of actually three amazing TV shows, if you include Top Gear. And honestly, like, that'll make some of these guys feel like they just can't match up, Like, we should have had some spicier options as number one. And honestly, I feel sorry for the UK people because I think there's so much flavor to their lives, but if you're using fish and chips as a national dish, not that it's bad, it's just, I'm sure y'all can season it with something, but then again, the unfortunate reality with the UK is everything that you could possibly say can bring them flavor is stuff that they've gotten through colonization. So, you know what? Maybe they do deserve the bland. And maybe I do deserve to start this podcast after doing 500 episodes, which I probably should, by saying, welcome to the Breaktime Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is a man who is not English, but is using English to make fun of the English. He's a man who might find it hard to breathe if you've got that asthma. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. And I'm back. I'm actually back. Like, oddly enough, even though someone might think that whatever the hell it is that I was saying on episode 500 was a bunch of clout chasing, I was just trying to get a rise out of people, actually, it wasn't. All of it was true. Everything that I said was true. Everything that I felt was true. You could argue on timelines, but yeah, everything that I did say was actually quite true. And to be very honest, I did actually decide to come back because I had spoken to some people who are like, Denver, you've done so much already. You can just continue on and, you're doing a pretty good job. And, success might be right around the corner. Just give it time and, just continue pushing on. You're doing something great. Why stop now? All right. And also over the past week, ever since I released episode 500, quite a number of people have hit me up, whether it's on text, whether it's calling me, and they're like, you know what, don't stop it, just continue. You're doing such a great job. And even one or two of you guys hit me up and they were like, I didn't even know you had a podcast, or, I didn't even know about your podcast until now. And it seems like you're doing such a good job. Like, why not continue? And yeah, here I am continuing because, well, the fans asked for it. The people who are listening asked for me to continue. And so I will continue, at least for now. But all that said and done, I am glad to be back. It's been a pretty nice week. I've gotten a chance to decompress, even though I've been receiving your messages. And yes, I am ready to get back to business because there is quite a lot that needs to be spoken about on this episode. There's someone that just annoyed the fuck out of me, and that one I will handle on the main topic. But before I can get to any of that, let us first talk about women because, well, sometimes women can be very interesting creatures. Now, there's this interesting thing that you realize with quite a lot of women where they just cannot seem to be straightforward about shit that they want and shit that they feel that they want. And then when you don't give it to them, they all of a sudden get pissed off because they expected you to mind read the fuck out of them. And to be honest, for us guys, it's sometimes baffling, a little bit interesting, and mostly quite wild. And even though I do have a case of the same exact thing happening with the clip that I'm about to play for y'all, well, in this particular case, Shorty actually recognized that she was the dumb one in this equation. Now, I'm not saying that all women are dumb. I'm not saying that what it is that women do is dumb, but at least this one had the guts and the guile to admit that what she did wasn't particularly smart. And without further ado, I am going to play the clip so that I can get into my thoughts on the entire thing. So, without further ado...
Okay, I am the problem. I went on a date with this guy and he was like, it's getting late. Do you want to come back to my place? And I was like, sure, but I'm not going to sleep with you. Like, that's not happening. And he was like, that's totally fine. Just come over. And I was like, cool. So I go to his place. He respects my wishes. He's so nice. He cuddles me all night. And I'm like, are you gay? Like, what? And like, I just wanted him to like try, and then for me to be like, no, you know what I mean? I wasn't gonna sleep with him. Now I feel ugly. This is what. Oh my God.
Now, the best part about this entire video isn't the story, isn't how it ended, isn't even what the guy did. It's the fact that she started with, I am the problem. As in, she admitted that she was the problem here. And what the guy did, in mine and I think every other guy's opinion, and maybe a couple of women as well, was actually a good thing. Like, people out here busy being accused of sexual abuse and sexual harassment and like attempted rape and shit, and they barely do fuck all. Like, sometimes they literally just approach a woman to talk to them. So for what this guy did, he did everything right. And if I was to even take it one step further, I'd have probably slept in a different room. Although if that was the case, then Shorty probably should have just taken an Uber and just taken herself to the house. But that's sort of besides the point. The thing was that she actually said that nothing should happen, like we're not having sex, and this guy was so into her, but he was still like, you know what, it's fine, it's cool, we won't even take our clothes off. So they practically sleep on the same bed, they cuddle, and now because the guy didn't make a move, she's suddenly like, I feel ugly. That shit is funny. To be very honest, it's actually quite funny because in a world where guys are now afraid of approaching women, not because they lack the confidence, but because they're afraid of being looked at as some version of a sex predator, like, you expected this guy to actually make a move? Like, the fuck? And here's the thing, and maybe this one's just a me thing, I'm actually pulling this one out of my ass, so don't take it as fact, but I have a very strong belief that a lot of women do things in relationships or in dates that they believe is very story or plot worthy in their heads. Like, it's a lot better to tell people that this guy made a move and he was being touchy with me, as opposed to saying, you know what, I really like this guy, so I wanted to shag him. Like, that is something that I see happen and I hear happen, where it's like, no, the guy should have done this, the guy should have done that. And because the woman didn't communicate her intentions and she expected something, she all of a sudden gets pissed off because it didn't follow the plot or the whole belief system that she had in her head of what was supposed to happen. And you'll see this happen quite a lot in relationships, even just beyond the date stage, even just in regular relationships. You will notice stuff like this happen. A guy wants to go and grab something to eat. He asks his babe, do you want something? She's like, nah, no, I'm not feeling too hungry, blah, blah, blah. And then if the guy doesn't buy her something, all of a sudden now she wants to have his food, and it's like, no, but you could have gotten me something. Or when the guy goes and gets her something, all of a sudden she's like, oh my goodness, he's so sweet, he understands me, he knows that even though I say I don't want anything, I really just want this snack. And I'm like, ugh. Like, be fucking straightforward. Honestly, women, y'all need to be straightforward. Not every guy is a mind reader, and don't get me wrong, like the storyline, the plot, like if it goes according to plan, then it's great. It sounds great. It's definitely something that you would want to tell your friends about, because so and so is so thoughtful, and the love of your life, is definitely blinking in slow motion, and unicorns like to fly in the sky. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it all the time. Like, stop assuming that every single guy is going to know what's in your head all the time. Some guys are just super oblivious to that shit, and you have to be happy with that. It's an unfortunate reality for some of you that telepathy isn't something that is available to everyone, or even most of us. But you're gonna have to be comfortable with that shit, and start getting comfortable being straightforward with what it is that you want and what it is that you'd like, so that we as men can actually treat you better and love you the way you want to be loved. Stop trying to use mind games and shit. But anyways, with that said and done, I am going to leave it at that and move it on to the main topic of this episode. Now, normally I don't speak against guys as much, not unless if I feel like it's very, very necessary. There are some times when I'll say, alright, you know what, as guys we fucked up here, but I don't normally dedicate an entire main topic to just take a shit on a certain subgroup of guys, unless it's absolutely necessary, of which in this particular case it is. And it involves one of the few thought points that is unconventional that I stand with, or at least that I've stood with for such a long time. And it actually kind of pains me that I actually have to start speaking against it for this entire thing to actually kind of work out. Now, the thing that I'm talking about is going 50-50. And yes, I know there's someone that's gonna call me a cheapskate because I believe in it. But you know what? I'm a guy and I live in the 21st century, 2024 to be exact, as of the time of this recording. So you know what? If you think that whatever it is that I'm about to say is a bunch of BS, you can go and suck on Big Daddy for all I care. Now, there was a guy on Reddit who just so happened to talk about why you should go 50-50. That was even the title of the post that he had. But whatever the hell he said, I do not stand for at any given point in time. Now, I am going to read what it is that he said so that I can get into it. So, he says, and I quote, "Nowadays, most women, especially in Nairobi, are ran through and don't have much to offer in a relationship. With this in mind, as a man, you should be going 50-50 with them, or at the very least cheating. Most likely, she has or is currently being ran through in campus and goes to the club. If you're a provider for a girl like this, you aren't getting a good deal. The relationship is very imbalanced and she has let many guys smash for free, and now you are left to pick up the pieces and take care of a girl like that. The easiest solution to make the relationship more equal is just to go 50-50. Imagine you're taking care of a woman and she's out at the club getting drunk with other men. It doesn't even matter if she's cheating in this case, because she's just making you look like a clown. If you go 50-50, you at least get some tangible benefits, so even if she commits thought behavior, it's not really much of a big deal because you'll still get the benefit of splitting the expenses." End quote. Okay, now I read this, and if it wasn't for the positive messages that got me to get back on the mic, I think to a very small degree this might have actually gotten me back into podcasting again, because what the fuck kind of mindset is this? As in, even after the whole men versus women thing, after gender wars got done with, after, the red pill content creators stopped becoming that big of a thing, we still have people that believe in this shit. But anyways, let me get to breaking this down because, someone has to. And I'm going to start with either the first or the last thing that the guy was busy saying about all of this, and just say for a fact that, it's okay. Like, there's actually women with money out there that do not mind paying their own bills. And yes, I know the guy was busy talking about campus babes, and I will even stretch it to the campus level and say that there are women out there, there are young girls out there who, even though they're not making their own money, are very comfortable paying their own bills because they are financially okay, or they have good financial management skills, and they don't blow through all of their money and expect a guy to be handling all of their bills. Now, with that said, I think I can also get into the rest of this entire thing, which, let me start from the whole ran through bit, because that was literally like the first sentence on the entire thing. This whole thing of saying that most women are ran through, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one, and maybe there's a couple of other few guys that might actually know this, but there's a lot more to women, or at least there's a lot more women out here than just the ones that hoe around. Don't get me wrong, the ones that hoe around do tend to be the loudest, and they do make it seem as though a shit ton of babes are doing this shit, but there's actually a lot of other women that aren't ran through the way you'd think. It's not like they went and they sacrificed their teens and their 20s just getting dick from any guy that gave her attention. There's a lot of other women who have not had much of a social life, or they mostly ever interact with girls, and they're straight women, so it's not like they've had that much experience with guys. There are women that have pretty much chosen to keep themselves till marriage, and they're still virgins to this day. There are women that don't even go out clubbing and don't even drink or smoke, and they're pretty nice individuals. And of course, there's going to be the babes that are one price tag away from being called prostitutes. But assuming that every single babe, or at least most women, even in Nairobi or even anywhere else, are just hoes, that is probably about as myopic in terms of thinking as you assuming that you can find the entire internet on Google. Or if that seems a little too complicated for you, it's about as myopic as assuming that the only way that you can make eggs is by you boiling or scrambling them. You need to go out there and learn a little bit more. You need to understand that there is more than what it is that you think is out there. All it needs you to do is to at least be a little curious enough and go and interact with other people, and maybe you learn a little bit more. Then also, this whole thing of talking about, you're getting a bad deal because all of these babes are ran through, blah blah. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I have a problem with virgins or women who aren't virgins. It's just, who the hell said that being a virgin is the only mark of being a good woman that's out there? Don't get me wrong, being a virgin is still a very desirable thing, and as long as time immemorial, it's been seen as a sign of female purity and goodness and shit. But to be very honest, I'm sure there's women out there that are virgins that are absolute pieces of shit, or they just have very, very shitty attitudes and personalities. And there are women who aren't virgins that are some of the nicest, sweetest, most caring, most amazing human beings on the planet. And I can say this with certainty because it's almost like assuming that the only good man is the one who goes to church. And maybe to some degree it's true because there are good men in church, but it doesn't mean that every man that goes to church is a good man, or that every man that is good will go to church. That is something that I think a lot of guys that talk a lot of shit like this usually fail to recognize. Just because the babe has had one or two or maybe a couple of experiences with guys doesn't necessarily mean that she's a hoe or she's ran through or anything of that sort. And at the end of the day, you listen to half of the shit that some of these guys say. She's out at the club busy drinking with a bunch of dudes, and you're over there looking like a clown. Even though she's not cheating, you look like a clown. Come on, bruh. Are we still going to have that discussion of whether it's okay for people to have friends with the opposite sex? Don't get me wrong, of course, there are guys that will want to smash, but just because I can look at a babe and be like, alright, I could fuck that, doesn't necessarily mean that I want to fuck her anytime she's near me. The fact that I would be okay with it doesn't mean that that's the only thing I want to do. Being friends with the opposite sex is not always about whether you guys are going to screw each other or not. I hate the fact that guys have to relearn this shit over again, because so many people have started saying, men and women can't be friends. Men and women can't be friends unless someone is smashing. And the reality of it is, a lot of people can be friends with the opposite sex and have nothing in the name of sex or intimacy involved. But you know what? Maybe that one's just a me thing. Maybe that one is just something that I personally believe as a guy that is called Denver. But now, to the thing that actually piqued my interest the most, the thing that triggered me so much on this entire post, was the part where this guy was saying that because she's been ran through, you should go 50-50 with her, or at the very least, and I kid you the fuck not, the guy said at the very least, cheat on her. And I don't know, maybe this one's just a me thing. Maybe it's me that's lacking the sense, but I did not see any hint of logic or sense in what he said at that point. That statement made such zero sense that I questioned all of the points of logic and every single angle that could possibly come up with sense for it that I could, and I came up with absolutely nothing. And the thing is, okay, fine. Maybe you can say, oh, she's been ran through, then the bill should be 50-50, blah, blah. Like, that one makes zero fucking sense, but you know what? I'm willing to let you even keep that one. It makes absolutely fuck all sense, but I'm willing to let you keep that one. The thing that I find makes even less than nonsense here is the fact that you believe that because she's been ran through, that you should at the very least cheat on her. Like, someone explain the logic here, because let's just try and look at it in the simplest of ways, all right? This is a babe who has been screwing around with a bunch of other guys before she met or even started dating you, all right? So she did it with all of those guys before you got into the picture. Now, the two of you start dating and you suddenly feel like now, because she's gotten dick from elsewhere, you should start cheating on her to do what? Like match up the body count or like exceed the body count so that, your numbers are higher than hers. Like what kind of logic justifies it? Because it's not like she's cheated on you. It's not like, at least as far as assumptions go, we know about her cheating on anyone else. And even if she cheated on the other people, it's not like it's your prerogative as a guy to go and avenge, quote unquote, whatever, things that she was doing to other guys by cheating on her. So where's the logic? Like, even though she was screwing another guy, even though she's screwed 50 other dudes before you cheating on her carries zero sense in relation to her sleeping with other people before she was with you. Whoever the hell she slept with is mostly none of your business. Like, come on, bro. Like, as guys, have we fallen this far down? Have we been deprived of all of our logic in this world of sensationalism and content creators busy pushing forth ideals that aren't particularly backed by anything besides them just wanting to screw other people, that we've gotten to a point where we think that this sort of thought process is okay? Like, have we fallen this far as a gender though? Come on, bruh. Like, shit. And here's the most interesting part out of all of this. Like, with everything that's been said here, dude is busy talking about babes who've been run through. And the one thing that I think every single person that may even closely agree with dude might be forgetting here is the guy has a choice. He doesn't have to date the hoe. Like, this guy is busy talking about dating babes who've been ran through, but he's forgetting that you don't necessarily have to date the hoe. It's not that we are devoid of every single woman that could exist on this planet, even include transgenders for all I care. But it's not like we're that deprived of women that the only women that dude can date is babes who've been ran through or babes who have whorish behaviors. But this guy is only paying attention to that. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think there's other women out here than just the hoes. Like, you can go and you can actually choose to not date a hoe. It's not like you only have an option of 3 women and all of them have been fucking different guys as you've watched. Like, there's so many other women that you can choose. You can find a better woman. You can find a babe who's a virgin. You can go for a kienyeji babe that, decided to be a nun, but she stopped midway because she didn't like the uniform. I don't know. I don't fucking care. At the end of the day, you can choose to date other babes who aren't hoes, who don't have hoish behaviors, but you're just centering on the hoes. So essentially, it's like you're saying that, fine, I have a problem with all of these hoes, but guess who I want to date? The hoes. And honestly, like, are you telling me that we're that lacking in options? Hell, I've spent most of my life in Nairobi and I know there's more options there. So for you to think that all that's out there is hoes means that you're not exploring enough, or the only set of people that you can appeal to, or you possibly have some sort of closeness to so that you could appeal to them, is hoes. And at that point in time, then we know what the remedy is. Just go out there and touch some grass, go and meet some more new people, and open yourself up to the fact that there's other people who have different mindsets and not every person has been ran through. Like, the fact that we have to address this shit at this point in time is so sad. It's so cringe. It's so fucking corny that guys are still thinking this way. And to kind of conclude all of this, Red Pill content creators definitely did a number on guys. Like, we as men, we as a society need to correct this bullshit. Otherwise, there's gonna be so many men that are gonna be led so far astray, or at least have already been led so far astray, that by the time they end up realizing that whatever the hell they were following was such bullshit, they will have lost so much time, and whatever appeal they think they had, they will struggle to accept that they don't even have it. Like, it's so fucking sad that there's guys that still think like this. And it's so sad that there's some guys that are going to not only believe in the same thing, but reinforce these ideas on other people, including other young men. And yet the remedy is so simple and yet so available and free, because all they need to do so that they can figure out that they're wrong is to go out and touch some grass, have some conversations with people, and utilize logic, which they believe they always utilize whenever they're coming to some of these conclusions, which is actually quite sad. Although, then again, you know what, maybe I'm a cuck, maybe I'm a simp, maybe, you know, I believe too many women who claim that they're not hoes. Maybe I'm wrong about all of this shit. I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the breaktime podcast. And on X, it is at Bagaka the D. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.
But what I believe is that if you put a pastor and a prostitute in one room, one is likely to convert the other.